Rebbe Nachman's story of the exchanged children in Rebbe Nachman's stories. I think it's story number 11, if I'm not mistaken. 13, 12, 11, yeah. So in that story, towards the end of the story, Rebbe Nachman tells of how the man of the forest gave to the true son of the king who was exchanged, and he grew up as a slave, the son of a slave. He gave to him this type of keli, this little vessel, little item, which was wooden colored with leaves, and he gave it to him as a gift. And this little instrument had a power that when it was placed on any animal, the animal would begin to sing a most beautiful melody, a beautiful nigun. And it was so tempting just to hear the nigun that when this prince got this keli, this vessel, he was looking eagerly for an animal to put the vessel on in order that the animal should sing. So the opportunity came when the exchanged prince was really the prince, and also his slave that was really this exchanged the slave who lived as a king and now is back to being a slave. They reached the wall of the city that he had to go into, which was the city which was called the Wise King and the Stupid Kingdom. And now the name was resorted, it was switched to the Stupid King and the Wise Kingdom, because the new king wasn't as wise as his father, and the goal was that they wouldn't let anybody in unless they were able to face the challenge of resorting the name back to their original name, the Wise King and the Stupid Kingdom. So he felt he couldn't do it, so he was standing there at the wall, and they wouldn't let him in. In the meantime, a man came on a horse, also wanting to come in, and they wouldn't let him in because, again, if you're willing to face the challenge of changing the name back to the original name, and he didn't. So he also didn't go in. So the prince took this opportunity. There's a horse of a man. He took the keli, the vessel, and he put it on the horse, and the horse began to sing a most beautiful melody. So the man riding on the horse, he said to the prince, "I want you to sell me this vessel." And he said, "No way, I'm not going to sell this for anything." And he said to him, "Listen, maximum, what can you get for this vessel and this performance that you put the vessel, the instrument, on an animal and it begins to sing? Maximum, it's like a what's it called, a concert, and people are going to bravo, bravo, and they give you some coins as a yesher koach. That's maximum you get. I have, however, something much, much greater that I inherited from my father, who inherited it from his father, and them from their ancestors and so on, which is far greater than this. And what is that? I learned the technique of understanding one thing from the next, which means I can teach this to you. It's a technique that whenever anybody says something, you can derive and understand other things from this item." So he said, "It's worth it." So he said to himself, that is worth it. To be able to have this wisdom, this technique, to know how to understand other things from what other people say, lavin davar mitoch davar, it's worth it. Because that will get you moving in life. And like he said, maximum, it's like a comedy. It's just like a thrilling, entertaining experience of having an animal sing a beautiful melody. What can you do with it? So he exchanged, he gave him the vessel, and this man taught the prince, the true prince, this technique. And once he taught him that, he understood that he can go into this country, face the challenge, and to resort the name. And in the end, he did. And when he eventually sat on the throne of the king who was called the Wise King in the Stupid Kingdom, when he sat on his throne and he rearranged everything like it says there in the story, you see there. So in the end, the throne with all the animals and items connected to the throne began to sing the exact same melody, much more enhanced. So Rav Levi Yitzchak Bender, and in the Breslov lore, they explain like this, that it's not uncommon that people who come to the teachings of Rebbe Nachman, they experience tremendous light. This is especially true of Bali Tshuva when experiencing a taste of Rebbe Nachman's teachings. They call it in Breslov terminology, Rebbe Nachman's light. They feel the orot of the tzaddik, the light of the tzaddik, and people are literally flying, living on a different plane, a superman, a superhuman plane of light and experience, something out of this world. However, that's not the goal. The goal is that you should get back to your right address, to sit on your throne, to be rightfully in the proper place. And to do that, you need to advance and to understand one thing from the next, even at the expense of foregoing the enlightening, lightful experience, which many people can't leave. It's like, God forbid, in a religious perspective, having a high, God forbid, taking a high, a spiritual high, and not wanting to separate from it. But if the truth is not that, and you must go on to find your true mission, you must be willing to forego the light for the sake of coming to the real truth. Even if it's at the expense, I'm not having this vessel. They would explain like this in Breslov, that the vessel is like the light of the tzaddik, and we're like the animals. And when this vessel is placed on us, we begin to sing a beautiful tune, and that explains this light that people experience when they come to tzaddikim, to spirituality. But that's not the final address. That's not the real truth. The real truth is that you should come to fulfill your mission, to become the Ben Melech, the son of the king, who you really are. And if you are willing to forego the light and the orot and the high for the sake of finding out the real truth, you will eventually, like in the story, come to your throne, which will emit much more beautiful melodies and light, much more than the tiny instrument. You'll have a whole throne giving out this light. So in the end, that's what they taught in Breslov. It's worth running after building vessels more than looking for the orot, the lights. The vessels that you build, the constrictions to serving Hashem, the schedules that you build to come close to Hashem, because that's the hatmada, and consistency is what builds a person more than anything else. More than, I was here and I experienced like this and I did 6 hours in the forest and I was up all night and all that things. Those are one-time, lifetime experiences, but they don't take something with you. What you take with you in life is consistency, day to day. This is what comes with you. And in this perspective, it's more important to build vessels for the light that you have than just running after the light without vessels.